Welcome back to the GetNet program. This year we're focusing on this theme called cycles, things that brings us back to the routine, doing things, going with emotion, and forgetting about what our purposes are. And we kicked off this month by looking into things which brings us back to these cycles. And today we are focusing on my thoughts. So stay tuned as we read the verse for today.
For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts.
I heard a story about a father and a son who went to the dentist, where there was needed to be fix few holes in his teeth, and but with this whole process it was so painful. He was crying and going on. And if you think about it, you could have asked this boy at that time, does your father love me? And he would say, no, he hates me, he's just making me do this. Why will my father love me if he will want me to go through so much pain? But if you ask him about an hour later, when he's enjoying an ice cream, a treat which his father spoiled him with for enduring the pain, and you ask him again, do you think your father loves you? And he will go on how much his fathers love him and knows how much his father cares for him. You see, when we're in the midst of so much pain or so much things that you're going through or things that we want, usually when things doesn't go our way, we think that God doesn't love us, that God forgot about us. But this boy didn't have all the information. He didn't understand why he's going through all of this. He didn't understand that this was the better for him. This verse that we read today about where God is telling us that his thoughts is not our thoughts, he is reminding us that there's a difference between us and God. That there is the way that God sees us, or the way God speaks of us, or who God is greater than who we are. And when we think on wanting to change God's mind and the way that I want him to think, I am limiting God to my small thoughts. I am limiting him to what I think is the best. But actually, God is seeing the greater picture, that we can trust him. We can look to him to change the way that we look into our circumstances. Because if we are constantly looking and wanting our ways, wanting to go through what I want, to go and look what I think is the best for me, this will bring me back to my cycle. This will bring me back to the misery when I want to follow my ways. But instead of changing my thoughts to what his thoughts is, to pray and ask God to change my mind, renew my mind, so that I can see what you see, to hear what you hear, and trust you who has the future in mind. If we have a different way of thinking, this will lead into a different way of living. If I change the way I look into a circumstances, it will change the way that I will view what's around me. Instead, we think as the world thinks. This challenge us. This will make us to think what everybody is doing. But if we ask God to change the way that we think, that we are used to thinking, this will change the way of what we see is right. It will change the way on what do we accept as normal. And we will change the way that it will challenge us to not think as the normal things. And we can learn by it, by asking God to change the way that we think.